Hey, what's going on? Good people. This is D Train here. Wanted to talk about this women's national team victory and some of the words and sentiments being expressed around that. But I wanted to first let y'all know that I'm kind of impartial to, um, certain groups within this whole thing. So let's get into all that. It's no, if you are familiar with me and who I am, it's no question or doubt in my mind, or there should be no wishy-washiness on who my team is. Okay, my team is the Tar Heel team. It could be, look, we could be playing anything, and I'm pulling for the Tar Heel. Okay. A little bit about my backstory, as before I get into the whole uh, issue. And first, let me say congratulations to the U.S. Women's National Team on their World Cup win. So I worked with the U.S. UNC women's soccer team. Um, what years was that? Probably from '94 to about 2002. So that's 8 years. 3 years as I was going through college, and then I worked 5 more years after college. Um, so I fostered a lot of really good relationships with the coaches, and Anson, he was the coach of the what was it? Did this thing go off? No. Okay, y'all can still hear me. My little soundboard is acting kind of funny. I gotta take a look at it. But yeah. So I got it. I have a lot of close relationships with a lot of the national level players who went to UNC. I mean, I'm talking. I don't. I hate to say from one player to another player because they're all great. But yeah, the Mia Hams, the Cindy Parlows, the Tiffany Roberts, the you know Stacy Wilsons, um, and then you have players from other teams who know those players who you kind of rub elbows with every once in a while. Um, Thori Staples, uh, and you get to know these people, and you love them, and so that's on that side. But as well, by the very nature of the sport, you're going to cross paths with the men's team, right? And you got to, if as I look back, I was that dude who wore all Adidas because they geared me up, and I have to say I probably looked a little good, except my hair was kind of crazy. I had like these twisty dreadlocks. I don't know. I might have had a high top fade or whatever. Might have been looking kind of crazy, but you know, the circles overlap, right? I'm one of the managers of the women's team, and the office is in the same building as the men's team. You see those guys, you talk, and before you know it, you hanging out on occasion. I'm talking like the Eddie Popes and the Chris Lynn's and the Suarez brothers, right? All the Suarez's, um, and oh man, there's so many good, like great players. Like some of those players went and played on the national team. And I apologize for some of the names I'm not saying right now because that those are great teams. Um, And on the team was Greg Berhalter, right? So I was a sophomore. Greg probably would have been junior or senior. I think he's a year older than I am, maybe year and a half or something. So those guys you get kind of close to. Like I didn't really know Greg that well, but Eddie and I we hung out on occasion, just chop it up, talk a little, whatever we talked about at the time, and you know it was cool. So fast forward to right now, I'm seeing this this phenomenon, this great team, this women's team, right? And I see five Tar Heels on the team, and I'm like, yeah, let's win that for the Tar Heels, Tar Heel Nation, right? Um, and let me step back because I wanted to mention this too. I remember back, I forget which was the Olympics was it in Athens. The final we won. I think we played China. I want to say we play. I remember they would announce some of the Chinese players as like just different names that you knew that wasn't there, and it would be like Mickey Mouse or Michael Jackson. Somebody's. It was so funny. It was kind of weird, I was like, what? But anyway, that's an aside. Um, but I remember after they won, the players on that team, some of them were in college, and they had to make decisions on, okay, we get this for winning this money, but we can't accept it because that in turn means that now you're a professional and you would lose your eligibility in college, I believe, or yeah, it would be like an NCAA violation or something like that. I'm not sure. I wasn't in the meeting, but that's the tenor, the decisions that these guys had to make as college, and they're looking around and like, oh man, yeah, we won the Olympics, but now I can't enjoy it. So yeah, there are some things, and it's not just the women on that front. That happens with the men too. I think the issue comes in where the upside afterwards for the upper elites of of the sport, and we had a few on that team, as I mentioned. Eddie was on the team. Greg was on the team. There's a midfielder who was excellent, blonde hair. I forget his name. And he's a huge. He was a huge name, and I think he played overseas in some of those leagues, and that's also relevant to this story. But I feel bad because he was cool too. He was just a cool dude. All of those dudes were cool that I remember. They always treated me cool as far as I could tell. But that aside, so these guys have to make these decisions, and you can see on the national stage, overseas, man, these dudes get paid millions and millions of dollars, like Spain, Italy, the British teams. They got the Chelsea, you got the oh my gosh, and it seems like I don't know, man, that their marketing is just on point. So is it a marketing problem, or where are they getting the money from? Is it a private organization? Are there investors? I'm not sure how that all works. Um, but I kind of liken the women's team to almost like the gymnastics and volleyball tennis. It's almost like you rather watch the women play than the men sometimes, you know. Um, but well, no, not in that way, because really they're two different. They're two different modes, I think. Like the women's game and the men's game, like even like some of the formations, you can tell the issues that the men and the women face by some of the formations. Like some of the women's teams try to play towards the men's okay, so I think w- um what is it? I think Berhalter, I think his team right now, the men's team plays like a 4-4-2 or something, 4-5-1 or something like that. It's something like they play with one forward and all these midfielders. Some of them are attacking midfielders possibly, and some of them are defensive midfielders. Then they got a defense, but it kind of shows where you may need the the most attention, um because the men's game, you're dealing with men and other coaches who have a system and a different pool. You got these kids, they playing since, day one. You know, I don't know. It just it's just a different game, man. Like I know back when I was working with the team, I think Anson liked to run like a 3-4-3 maybe, because it it really put a lot of pressure on the defense, but you had your offensive power in the front too. Um, so that meant everybody was running at all times because if you could outlast the other team fitness wise, um, and you had that pool of players who would love to put on the Carolina Blue. That's a pretty formidable force, right? And then you add to the fact that you had to be fit, right? You had to be game fit. You had to be able to run. Um, it's just a different feel. Like I love watching the women play, but I love watching the men's game. Like when I'm able to, when I'm able to watch anything, really, um, I enjoy it. But I see it and understand it for what it is. It's like it's just different. But I love both of them. I've been around women's soccer for long enough to understand it and appreciate all the different intricacies, the flexibility in some ways too. With man. So if you can separate that now, I think where the men have the benefit is that they have a huge pool of foreign players who are excellent that they could bring over, who already have a following in those countries, right? And then those people tune in when they're here, probably less, but that star power. I mean, I remember like what didn't Pele come and play in America? So did oh man, it's just a bunch of players. Was it Beckham? Beckham came after he was finished with his thing over there. Um, and people know these names, you know, and I guess you have to ask yourself, why don't people know the names of the women's players as well? Not only the the American players, but the um the international players as well, as we would know, like Lionel Messi, right? Why don't we know these players? And if you're gonna um, foster some kind of, I don't know, whatever, towards anybody, like who's not giving you your shine? I mean, you got ESPN out there, right? Right now, because you guys are in the news and that's all they're running with. You know what I mean? Like today, I turn on the thing and I'm like, yeah, we won, right? In the beginning of the day, I turn it on, and then, I'm going about my busy day working, and I turn the radio back on, and not only are they talking about how great the women are, but they're bashing the men's team. They're bashing the men's team, dude. And I'm like, come on, man. And remember, I'm a Tar Heel, so I'm like, dude, my homeboy. I mean, in a matter of speaking, he's a Tar Heel. Like Jordan is my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? So they bashing my homeboy. He just got the job, and they're doing well. They what 8-2-1. I'm like, come on, he's winning. Something seems a little bit different. So I don't think you really have to bash the men's national team to try to uplift the women's team. That's my main point in this whole thing. That's to be careful. But let's go back to the point that I was making. Um, they're talking about the women's team right now, and they're saying how they're not getting paid and this and that. But at the same time, they're the ones who aren't giving you your due. I mean, it's soccer comes on the regular TV. There are a lot of options. Um, where are the women's games? The women's games are on sometimes. Like the Courage is in this area, so that's great. Um, but it seems like there should be more marketing, and if anything, Megan Rapinoe seems to have her finger on the pulse of that thing, the marketing side of it. Say what you want about her politics. She's made a name for herself. Um, how you choose to do that is the issue, because then there again, you're dealing with a different, it's like a different thing, men, women, a man versus a woman. How are you gonna, can a woman uh make her name, in the same way a man can? I mean, Megan's done it, right? There's some players you just can't ignore. And I'm looking at this team of awesome players. I'm like, wow, they are so good. Like, where's the marketing, the positive marketing that they should be receiving? Like, I see Ali Wambach stuff still, because she's involved in some things that I'm kind of interested in, you know. Um, So I don't know if you want to change. I wish I knew more about the legislation, or if there is like some kind of something. I'm not familiar. I'm just talking about the inside kind of outside look, from inside to outside, all that stuff in the middle. I'm not, those are a lot. It's a lot of weeds in there. For me, I can't speak on that too much. Equal pay. I think if you took that some of the money that you might get and you invested in your own marketing, that's taking your power back. I visited Megan Rapinoe's um, Twitter page. Dude, she's selling her stuff. She might have a team, and that's smart. That's what you should do. After she finishes playing, whenever that might be, I believe she's still gonna be okay, of course, but I think she's gonna try to go bigger. Again, politics aside. So I'm just saying, if there's a way, I'm brainstorming at the same time. I'm saying this on different ways that they could lift this league up from the individual um, player. All these great individual players have stories, and in the age of information, you have the ability to kind of tell your own story in a substantive way. Look, I'm on here talking, for something in the morning from the depths of nowheresville, getting out a message, live stream, right? I could have easily recorded this, right? Taken the best clips, maybe remove my ugly mug, right? My ugly, beautiful mug. Just put a little bit of low music behind it. I could have put some pictures of these every player I talked about. That's production. Okay. You may not have that time. You may have that time. I don't know what the time schedule is for a person who has to deal with staying in shape and working with a bunch of people for a common goal of on a sports level, right? But here's what I do know. I know that the more you control the message of yourself, I believe the better off the league's going to be. And at the same time, you know, try to not bash the men. It's almost like the whole politics thing. That's why a lot of people have issues with the politics thing. If you take somebody who doesn't have as big a following, right, and they're on a team, and then you got one of the main players, and they're on this politics thing, right? That person just took a whole field of soccer lovers, right, and kind of decreased the appreciation of it by excluding a certain group based on their beliefs. and some of those people are going to tune out. So now you've decreased that. But, you know, I could be wrong. Somebody's sales probably went up, but the overall value, you know, is it going to further the goal of bringing more people into the fold? I guess that's the real question, isn't it? Is it we're trying to get more eyeballs. We're not trying to shut eyeballs out. So, you know, whatever. I'm just glad my Tar Heels won, and I'm glad to see that a fellow Tar Heel is winning, although they lost today against Mexico. But you know what? This is 1-0. It's in the what 70 something minute. You know, sounds like it was a game. So stay tuned, I guess. See if anybody's listening. So, therefore, on the other hand, nevertheless, word, peace.